All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls and very pleased to have the Public Information Officer of Troop C here in the area, Trooper Ross Brennan. And Trooper Brennan, good to see you again.
Same to you.
I'm going back because I was seeing some of these press releases about motorcycle accidents. I can recall in the early days of HTV, a motorcycle hit the back of my car going about 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
One fatality. One person lived with a lot of injuries. But every time I see this, it brings back memories. We're seeing more of this, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Fortunately, it's kind of a trend that we're seeing in our area, crashes involving motorcycle. In fact, Sunday morning, just after midnight, there was a fatal motorcycle crash near the Valentine Bridge in Lockport. We're suspecting the impairment, but the motorcycle rider went off the road and hit a tree and was ejected and ultimately died at the scene. So yeah, we are seeing so far at State Police Troop C, we've worked 40 fatal crashes this year and 44 deaths. 10 out of those 40 crashes were involving a motorcycle, and 8 out of those 10, the motorcyclist was in violation. He was doing something wrong. And it's kind of a couple things. It's speeding, reckless driving, it's them running off the roadway, potentially DWI situations. Of course, we're still waiting for toxicology results for some. And also crossing center line, going into the other lane. I know the weather out there is starting to get nice. I'm starting to see more motorcyclists on the road, but just as cars have to, motorcyclists have to be also making the right choices on the roadway, obeying that speed limit, make sure they're following within the speed limit that's for that road. Having a designated driver, they're planning to consume any alcohol or drugs. Don't try to drive a motorcycle. Can't drive a car, so surely can't drive a motorcycle where you need that balance. Also, just making good choices, being able to make sure that you're able to safely pass a vehicle and not get in a situation where now you have to floor it and get around them, because we actually had one of our crashes, a motorcycle was passing multiple vehicles at one time. So that's one thing that we're unfortunately kind of seeing a growing trend. Also, pedestrian fatals. This past Saturday, there was a pedestrian hit and run in Assumption Parish. Hopefully I'll have an update coming soon about that crash. But there was a person walking the roadway. He was struck, and he ultimately died at the scene. So far, we investigated 5 fatal crashes involving pedestrians, and 3 out of those 5, the pedestrian was walking in the roadway. State law, if you are a pedestrian, you have to be walking facing the traffic, so traffic coming towards you, and you can't walk in the roadway, especially at night when it's dark.
Let me ask you this, and I'll let you get back on track, but it spurred a thought process. There is no way that I walk downtown sometimes, but I always walk where I could sort of see the traffic, because so many people are texting while driving today. And I know y'all are trying your best to get a handle on it, but there's not enough troopers to combat 140,000 people just in Terrebonne.
Yeah, especially like you said. So that's why it's state law. You want to be walking facing traffic. That way you can see somebody who, they have to do the right thing to the drivers, but you want to be able to see if somebody is coming towards you. Good idea if at night, maybe wear a reflective vest or bright color clothing. Some of these crashes too, they're in low light areas. It's kind of like a deer or animal on the road. You can't see somebody until the very last second. So it doesn't really give that driver much of a chance to make a maneuver. Another thing too is bicyclists. We also have seen another trend with bicyclists. Same thing, 4 fatal crashes involving cyclists. All 4 of those cyclists was at fault. Whether it's the cyclist riding with no lights on whenever it's dark, you can't see them in the roadway, failure to yield to traffic, not obeying traffic lights or red lights, things such as that. A bicycle, that's the same as a car. If you're riding a bicycle on the roadway, you have to go in the direction of traffic, right? So you can't be going facing traffic. You have to be going with the flow of traffic. You have to obey all stop signs, all red lights. Basically, whatever a car would have to do, you have to do that on the bicycle. If there is a sidewalk available, a bicyclist can ride on the sidewalk. There's no law saying that you can or cannot. You can either ride in the roadway or ride on the sidewalk. But if you're going to ride in the roadway, you have to obey the traffic laws just like a car does.
Now, let me ask you this, because I've seen people go downtown, they ride their bike up to the establishment, they get a couple of drinks. They think they're being safe because they're driving their bike to the establishment. But if they leave that establishment and they cause a wreck or get in a wreck and it leads to fatality, they have some problems, don't they?
Most definitely, for sure. I mean, whether it's somebody leaving a bar and drunk trying to walk back to their place, and I get they're trying to make the right decision by not driving, but somebody walking along the roadside in and out of traffic who can't maintain their balance. Same thing with somebody riding a bicycle who's impaired, right? So if you going out to have a drink or any type of, substance that might impair your ability to function, have a safe way to get home at the end of the day or at the end of the night. Somebody walking drunk by the road, that can be just as dangerous as somebody driving on the roadway. Crash can still happen.
Let me ask you this, because we always used to watch movies and we used to hear about the motorcycle groups that were so bad. But I run into motorcycle groups that are doing charity events.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they're very good. They all drive together. They drive the speed limit. It's the rogue motorcycles that seem to be causing wrecks. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, there's still motorcycle gangs out there and things like that. And a lot of motorcycle groups, they are, charity groups. They have good purposes. And I'm not talking to those. It's like you said, it's those ones that are out there who are making those poor choices. As a whole, I'm not, condemning motorcyclists as a whole, but same as drivers, motorcyclists, we all have to make those right choices behind the wheel. That way everybody can get back home at the end of the day safe.
A situational awareness, because I know I've sort of developed a knack for always wanting to see who's driving up on the side of you, especially if you're driving at night, or if you go into a parking lot, who's around the parking lot. Yeah. Different than I was at a function with some of my old high school classmates. That seemed to be a big topic. Everybody's always trying to figure out who's around them. Y'all teach that a lot, don't you?
Yeah. So unfortunately, kind of the world that we live in now, you don't really know what somebody's intentions are. So I don't think it's paranoia. I think it's just being smart about your surroundings. Like you said, just being situationally aware. Now, whether that's driving in a vehicle or also maybe getting out of a car in a parking lot to walk into the store or anything, maybe just walking in your neighborhood, walking down your street. It's always good just to be aware of what's happening around you. Maybe take a glance left and right, see what vehicles are approaching, whether other people are also walking maybe around you. Typically, a good thing to go with is that gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right, it probably is not right. And that's just how we're wired, right, for survival. So definitely, especially like you said, driving on this situations where in New Orleans people, getting shot at on the interstate. Just pay attention to what's around you. See if there's another vehicle that's kind of maybe pulling up alongside you. I always try to, if I do notice a vehicle kind of sitting on my side, I just slow that speed down a little bit, let that vehicle pass. Because not only, a situation where it's criminal, they might have a blowout, something like that. You don't want them to be directly on the side of you. But also, whether male, female, you're getting out at the store, going to the mall, going to a parking lot, you never know somebody who might be walking to the parking lot. Like I said, you don't know what people's motives are. They might come up like a panhandler, but they're wanting to do something worse than that. So before you get out the vehicle, just take a quick glance around, look who's around you, just kind of see if everything looks pretty good. Try to park in a well-lit area if it's at night, generally around maybe some other people also, kind of more of a populated area of the parking lot. So that's a good tip there. Whenever you're walking back to your vehicle, it's a good idea to maybe hold your keys. You can actually hold your keys in a manner where if somebody does come up to you and tries to do harm to you, you might be able to defend yourself. Basically, if you hold it in your palm like this and grip your key, if somebody does try to attack you, you might be able to use this tip of your key. It's just a quick something to think about. Also, walking in the park. A lot of people, especially on college campuses, we're on Nichols a lot, people have headphones in their ear. They're listening to their music or their podcast, so they don't really hear if anybody's coming up behind them or trying to get their attention, things like that. So maybe turn that music down, have only one headphone in. It's just some good ideas. Just, again, like you said, be aware of your surroundings.
You're a young man and a young trooper.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, we didn't have to worry about all that. It was very rare to have anybody abducted, very rare to have anybody molested in parking lots or things of that nature. But unfortunately, y'all as police officers are dealing with this quite a bit, aren't you?
Yeah. Now, we are fortunate where we live down here. We don't have these situations like more of a metropolitan type area.
Yeah.
So we do have that going for us here. And again, it's not about paranoia or being scared to go out. It's just being aware of your surroundings. It's just kind of the world that we live in nowadays. Like I said, you don't know what people's motives are. They got some bad people out in the world. So just be aware of your surroundings, kind of look over your shoulder. And again, just that gut feeling, that's always a good telltale sign that, hey, something's not right. If something doesn't feel right, get out of there. Whether you're inside a shopping center or inside of a public area, and they might have somebody who looks a little shady, like they might be doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. If you need to get out of that area, go ahead and follow your gut, get out the area, because you never know what could happen.
Do y'all still recommend devices where you could spray them or you could shock them or do different things? Because I know a lot of times in the past, I've been actually on this desk doing stories on how that became the weapon of the one that was doing the attacking.
Yeah. That's always, like you said, you can get a little keychain, pepper spray things. They have little shockers. If you do want to go a concealed carry course, you can go that route. Just understand, though, if you do decide to, carry something that could be considered deadly force, it has to be justified. You just can't go using it just because somebody's approaching you, right? It has to be your life is in danger in some type of regard.
And you got to prove it.
Yeah.
So hopefully you got video cameras around and different things, which they generally do. But everything, it's a shame people always have to prove when they defend themselves. But because of what we see on the national spotlight, you just have to sometimes.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that I don't want people to be scared out in public.
Right.
It's just something to think about. Maybe you're a single female walking out in public, or a young person, whatever it might be, right? The way that crime happens is there has to be an opportunity. Don't give these criminals even an opportunity for a crime to happen. So if you don't put yourself in these bad situations, then nothing bad could happen to you.
And criminals hate noise.
Yeah.
So I know some of these keychains now have these whooping sounds on them. You just hit the button, panic button.
High-pitched siren. I've seen some with backpacks. You're able to put it on your backpack strap, and if somebody goes to hurt you or whatever, you can actually pull it. It's a super high-pitched screaming sound, and that gets people attention. So there's all types of gadgets out there that you can find, whether Amazon or wherever. There's personal safety gadgets for you.
Well, once again, we appreciate the information. Appreciate you being so transparent and coming on board, and hopefully we can get a handle on a lot of things that are happening, and eventually maybe people will come to their senses, but something tells me y'all going to be busy for a long time out. But I appreciate you coming.
I probably enjoy it.
All right. Trooper Ross Brennan once again joining us here on HTV, and we'll take a break. More programming right around the corner. Don't go away.